Jesmon figure fans, this is Mega881000 again, and I would like to review another, again, unofficial design studio figure. As you already could guess from the unboxing and as you can see, this is the more detailed review about a small but very nice figure of Hackmon. It's kind of a collector's action figure again, and Hackmon was made by the Chinese design studio called Akira Studios, like Jesmon. I have linked the unboxing and assembly video part of Hackmon as well as Jesmon's review in the video's description down below. But first, again, some of character bio about Hackmon in general. Hackmon, a little Dragon Digimon on child level, or for our dub, rookie level, that shines a cool white, or shines in a cool white. His unfettered and restraint-hating, adventure-loving way of life is likely due to Genkomon's DNA. Hackmon faces the rigorous trials imposed by Genkomon with an air of composure. He has a masterful sense of combat due to his lineage and because of his training with his Chaperons, the Sistermon sisters. He can more than hold his own in battle against his opponents, even if they are a perfect level or unperfect level. Oh wow, people, listen, this is amazing. Or what do you think? Because you know the perfect level is our dub ultimate level in Japan. Hackmon specializes in close combat that capitalizes on his keenness, cutting the opponent to pieces with his sturdy claws, called fifth slash. By the way, the word fifth gets spelled like F-I-F. Furthermore, he can rotate his tail like a drill to thrust it into the opponent, called Teen Ram. Hackmon can use the attack technique Baby Flame as well, spitting out of his mouth, which he also uses as a distraction. Yes, and Baby Flame is also Agumon's signature attack, at least in the original Japanese version. In the German dub version it has always been translated to Little Flame, which is not that far away from the original term by us. I don't know how it was called the US dub. But enough about Agumon, this should be all about Hackmon only. And yes, the final sentence for Hackmon's character bio would be much like that he follows his dreams of becoming a royal knight like Genkomon as it fights through continuous battles. Yeah, and to keep the whole thing more interesting, I do a quick turning action with Hackmon for you. Yeah. Now let us get into the actual review about Akira Studios Hackmon, but at first a very quick look at the box again. I showed you already in the unboxing, but as you can see it is nothing for the eye, just a plain cardboard box without any pictures, logos, hints of the brand. No, not at all. And yeah, similar to Jesmon's box, they probably want to remain more unrecognized in compared to other studios. And so much about the box. Now we are coming to the Hackmon figure, putting the box out of the way. And yeah, my first point is implementation. The Hackmon figure is modeled very well and very detailed, as you can see. It's also all rather sharp-edged proportions, like on collectors figures, which are also very good. And yeah, turning again figure a bit, you could say that the original character design of Bandai they captured very well, even if the figure actually has no product, is no product by Bandai, but the little Hackmon figure got also implemented in an impressive way, I think, so that you can see very well which Bandai character the figure is supposed to represent. Excuse me, please. The whole thing is also pretty impressive because the figure is very small, as you can see. But nonetheless, all the important parts and features typical for Hackmon's character design have been taken into account and are present on the various parts of the body. And yeah, as you can see, and they are all very detailed in terms of coloration. In other words, even the smallest paint apps are there, and despite the small size, the paint job is for the most part absolutely clean as well, really well done, and an awesome implementation. And yeah, I show you this in close up now, of course. Just looking at all of those details and nice paint apps all around on the little figure. It's truly amazing because, as you can see, the figure isn't that big at all. Yeah. My next point would be the size. And yeah, Hackmon's length would be measured from the front claws to the tip of the tail, would be about circa 3.2 inches, which would be about a bit over 8 centimeters. Measured with the cape, it is about 3.5 inches in length, which would be about 9 centimeters. The height is about circa 2.4 inches, of course measured from the crown to the highest tip, which would be his ears or horns. Yeah, and that would be circa, did I mention it? 2.4 inches in height, which would be about circa 6.2 centimeters. Of course, it also depends on the pose you give him, because he is a bit pose able despite his small body size, and the figure is actually pretty decent pose able for that size. Yeah, and because we're almost talking about the awesome paint job, have a look again on all these great paint apps. That white, which is his main body color, is even such a beautiful metallic or pearl white, like they did on Jesmon, or like it is on original Bandai Tamashii Figure Arts figures. We have the other details picked out with this nice shiny black paint apps all around. The eyes are very beautifully detailed with the matching yellow, as you can see. For the iris, and in terms of color for the eyes, they are wonderfully detailed and as you would wish them to be, I think. It's very obvious, very well and nice done. Yeah. All these mini lines and stuff on the body for which he has the paint apps also are beautifully highlighting all the engraved and molded details all around on his body, and are done in this shiny black as well, and are absolutely super clean executed as well, which is simply an impressive paint job for being such a small figure. Or what do you think? And there we do another close-up on those mentioned details again, and here I meant those black lines, those black paint apps picked out in this shiny black. Also on the scarf, those little black lines are taken into account on the legs, and all of the other nice details, round details. He even has some of this round detail up there on his body. I don't know if you can see this, but it is there. Also the glasses there, very, very nice. Paint job, yeah. The red of the cape and scarf on the other hand has a matte texture to the whole shiny rest of the body parts, which looks very nice for the cape and brings another color accent. In short, perfect all around and just super great, and with a stunning paint job, or an stunning paint job, better said, excuse me. Yeah, and that we are going to have a closer look on the nice matte red cape. Maybe through the lighting it shines more than it does in reality, but it is more in matte texture for the cape. Very, very nice chosen again, I think. And yeah, one thing which is funny is that there are differences between the various produced Hackmon figures, which I noticed based on pictures from the internet. I will also show you that at next, but first, before I seen those pictures of the others, one thing I found to complain, which looks kinda very unsuitable in terms of colors on my Hackmon figure in compared to the rest of the amazing paint job, which I will show you now. Maybe that detail caught your eyes by now already too, but that are those unmatching brown joint connection pieces which they used, and I just simply wished that they would have used white colored joint connections instead. Yeah. And I think also as a result of that, brown joint connections, which are really which are anyway very noticeable on the figure, and because of this strange color choice for the joints, also kinda destroying the otherwise great overall image of the other matching colors a bit. Yeah, like I said, just wish they had taken white ones instead, so that they wouldn't be so obvious and match the rest of the paint job better. Because I also remember that they had taken such white joint connections for the first produced Hackmon figures, which I known from pictures. This is also true And you can see here in these pictures, which I will show you at next. Just give me some seconds. Yeah, and we are going to have a look on this picture, and there you can see they used white joints for those connections. But what you also can see, there are also on the other hand very much of those paint apps missing, like those round details on the tail, on the legs, and so on. They're all missing on this figure, and also the cape seems to look that it was made of a rather shiny material. And yeah, I think the matte cape looks better on my figure. Here we have again a picture of the missing paint apps, which is very strange, or what do you think? Yeah, so I showed you those pictures, and you are going back to the actual review about Jesmon. Excuse me please, not Jesmon, Hackmon. Yeah, and considering all those missing paint apps on the supposedly produced first bunch of those Hackmon figures, I have to say I actually like my version a lot more better, because my Hackmon has a lot more paint apps more, and I think that's always better than it would have less of them. And also, like I said, I like more the matte texture of the cape, because it brings another color accent in the game. Yeah, and that's why I have to say I can overlook these color-wise not matching used joint connections with that brown color. At least it might also be possible to get these joint connections in white and to swap them, because these are just such simple joint connections that are also used for the self-making resin model kit figures in general. You just have to get exactly the same sized ones in white, and this small optical problem would also be solved. But strange that the Design Studios has produced different color versions with less paint apps and different textures for the cape. Isn't that strange, people? I think it is. Yeah. And I'm really glad that my Hackmon has all those additional paint apps, and yeah, that's just great. And maybe the long wait paid off in this form to get a better later produced Hackmon version than the first produced bunch was apparently. Yeah, apparently, excuse me please. Now some words about the paint in terms of durability. Well, this is again also the main weak point of the otherwise very beautifully detailed painted figure of Hackmon. The paint also flaking off very easily, as when you just rubbing parts together by using just the joints. Sadly, it is enough if you just literally grind the body parts over rougher surfaces, or just pull them slightly over the surfaces, and that's also the reason why he is sitting on this foil back here, which is really a big downside. And due to the high prices of all these finished resin collectors action figures or painted figures, an actual absolute no-go. And because of the high prices, it is just very weak and doesn't reflect in high finish, in quality, in terms of durability of the paint job. Yeah, that's very big downside. And a really huge weak point of these figures, you already know the problem also from the KH Zone's Metal Garurumon X Antibody KO Figure Arts figure, and from the review about it. Unfortunately, this also applies to Akira Studios Jesmon figure, and for that I will bring in the figure again, because I forgotten to mention that also he has this problem with the fast and easily chipping off of the paint. So we also have a little compare as well. Yeah. And yeah, so I have now added that for Jesmon here as well. And I also will bring in the effect parts called FO Renew and Pour. You know from the review already, but I wanted to get them in here as well. And yeah, these parts are not affected by this problem because they are obviously made of this translucent material and are not painted. So you should handle this kind of figures very carefully, and but even then the paint will chip off very easily, and it is also hard to avoid that even if you be very careful. I really have to say that in this regard the Deutsche Amazing Design Studio did with their Susanomon and the 3 Magnamon color versions a better job, because the paintwork or job on all 4 of those figures is much more resistant, and everything does not chips off so easily by just using the joints and body or armor parts rubbing against each other to that, which is a big plus for Deutsche Amazing's quality. Anyway, I even don't understand at all why the paint chipping off so extremely quickly on the other figures mentioned. On the other hand, all the various non-articulated resins that use, such as my Metal Citramon and Light Dramon, which I also will bring in and try to bring in. Do we manage this? Yes, I think we can. Yeah, the paint job on those are also much more resistant in that point of view. Yeah, if you drop them or treat them roughly, the entire material of the affected parts and sections would break off, rub off very quickly too, or they would burst into 1,000 pieces, because that's simply the nature of these resin statues if it falls down. But paint job wise, it does not flaking off so quickly just by literally taking them in your hands, or replace parts or rub loose parts on them together. Just saying, just wanted to mention that. And let's get to the point of articulation for Hackmon again. That putting the others out of the way again. And we are focusing back on only Hackmon. Just give me some seconds to do this. Yeah. Articulation. As you can see, those mentioned hinged joints, with those joints you can turn the body parts a bit on them, or rotate, better said, and yeah, and because of they are hinged, you can bend them as well. I also want to only show you that on one leg because of the paint chipping off issue. Also you can rotate the whole leg, the shoulder. This is also possible with the hind leg, and we have also joint connection there. You can bend and rotate as well. And we have some articulation for the head, because it's also in such a joint connection, so you can rotate the head, and you also can have him a bit looking down slightly. There is articulation is limited for the head because of the surrounding parts getting in the way, and yeah, that's would be it for articulation. And I also want to show you the paint chipped off already on the claws, just by taking him or the parts out of the foil bag and just lay them down there, and yeah, it happened. Also paint chipped off also on Jesmon as well, and here the color are rubbed off very obvious to see just by sliding the cape over to assemble it. How I said, this is a really weak point of those figures. That's really bad. And now I showed you so much articulation, and it's hard to get the better pose again, but yeah, you get the idea. And because I was talking about Akira Studios Jesmon before here for the last time, some informations and summary about a pre-story about the purchase of Jesmon and Hackmon back then. And therefore I will bring in Jesmon again. Also maybe because of compare reasons, and also his effect parts FO, Rene and Pour. Just for showing them again, and yeah, we're getting a better focus as well. Give me just some seconds for doing that. So yeah, we have it. I had already said a lot about this pre-story in Jesmon's review and about the current state of things about, so I will only tell it in a short summary. For those of you who shouldn't know, just watch the detailed review about Jesmon. Everything about the pre-story I mentioned in that review pretty much at the end of it. So I already mentioned that I actually bought this Hackmon figure together with Jesmon. So I thought that Hackmon would come with Jesmon, because I also chosen the slightly more expensive selection or option when buying Jesmon. At that time I also asked the Cosmo Time eBay shop members right before I made the final purchase, and they assured me, yes, when using this option the Hackmon figure will be included with Jesmon. But as you can guess, I ended up just getting Jesmon and his effect parts trio FO, Rene and Pour. Here, after a few back and forth statements like yes, they will do another one, or to also statements the studio doesn't make any more Hackmon, or statements that it was a mistake by the studio and that the Hackmon figure actually should not be included with Jesmon at all, and that the Cosmo Time shop therefore also posted an incorrect sales offer. Yeah, by the way, they also took the pictures with Hackmon and Jesmon together from the item page right after telling me that, because they still had Jesmon or had the figure again at that time up to buy it. Yes, it was very complicated. The last status I mentioned in the review about Jesmon already as well was that I asked if they could tell me in advance what Hackmon would cost if they would produce some Hackmon again, because I know well the somewhat overpriced prices in this eBay shop already, and I meant that I am not willing to pay hundreds of dollars extra for a figure that was actually already paid for and according to your offer or the shop offer just should be included with Jesmon. So they wanted to ask the studio about the price, then there was silence in this regard. First, when I later asked about the purchases in their status, I asked again what about the price of Hackmon. They replied that the design studio did not answer it yet and said that it also seems that the studio is not interested in making some new Hackmon figures again. I already mentioned that in the review of Jesmon as well. Yeah, so it went back and forth from again statements like they maybe make some Hackmon figures again or they doing not, without continuing also not telling me in circa price. And folks, at this point I had to say I was fed up with these last statements. I was fed up with asking again and again, because the whole thing just mentioned lasted quite over a year overall. So I said in Jesmon's review that I slowly giving also up my hope and I no longer believe in getting the Hackmon figure at all. Only time will tell, and you know what happened because of this review. The time told it. So I was able to get my hands on another Hackmon figure. So now to the news about this topic. Much later they suddenly sent me an offer for a new up for order Hackmon figure almost out of nowhere, but the price was for such a small figure I think over 60 euro or dollars, and even before I could ask if I could get a slightly higher discount because of the pre-story, I had already been bought. It already had been bought by someone else, so I missed the next chance to get it again, but it was also an immensely high price for such a small figure. In autumn 2021, when I visited the Cosmo Time shop again, I saw that they had again new Hackmon figures up for order. I asked again about a discount etc because of the pre-story, you know. They even remember that pre-story well, and for that people they really deserve credit for. They care a lot about their customers. They were also sorry for the whole thing too. However, the first answer was rather sobering for me because they meant we do remember and offer you to send Hackmon with free shipping if I buy it. Only thing was that they had Hackmon now up for order for an even higher price of I think almost over 70 US dollars or euros. And you must also know that I have already bought quite a lot more in that Cosmo Time shop, so they promised me as a little reward for that. And since I bought Digimon House Metal Citramon, that I would get from now on free shipping or at least a discount on shipping for all further purchases. They always kept that promise as well, which is also very high creditable for that shop. but in this case I would not get any further discount for purchasing this Hackmon, because I get kinda everything with free shipping anyway. So I replied especially in this regard and complained again that the Hackmon was originally supposed to be included with Jesmon. You know the pre-story, and that's why I don't will accept to buy such a mini figure to this very high price. And I am also not to blame, or it's at least either not my fault if you're setting wrong things up for order back then. And they replied with a new offer, which was actually a pretty good offer, and I got a 30% discount off on the normal price due this pre-story. So instead of paying around 70 euros or dollars, it was only about 52 and 4 euros, completely free shipping, and that was actually about a maximum wished price, which would be about 58 and 29 in dollars. Of course, still a lot of money for being such a small figure, but better than if I would had blindly paid 60 or 70 euros or dollars before. That's why I still think that this 30% of discount on the actual price was actually a really good price. And again, this is again an absolutely high creditable fact on the part of the shop members. And to be honest, I never expected such a huge discount, because you also seen that the shop sold these little Hackmon figures very well despite the high normal prices on the other hand. So let us get to the price performance ratio and conclusion. And as mentioned before, I bought it again in the Cosmo Time eBay shop for this a bit over $58 on the 20th October 2021 with the discount price that probably only I got because of the pre-story. It was an almost good and perhaps reasonable price. On the other hand, and still very high price for being such a small figure, which is why I'm not giving a direct buy recommendation for the actual price without a discount, which normal customers have to pay instead, because you have to keep in mind by that. But if you really want to have these figures, you also have to be ready to pay these prices. Point finished. Everyone has to consider that for themselves. Otherwise, as I said, it is a very nice detailed figure of Hackmon with all the important paint apps done, which are also very clean executed. He also has a decent articulation for being such a small figure, which is another plus. And it is therefore the best and at the same time the only poseable figure of this character Hackmon existing so far. And if you are an absolute fan of the Hackmon character, I would also recommend buying it if you are still able to get it. The biggest weak point is the miserable durability of the paint job, and that the paint flakes off so easily. So I say this again, this is a really an absolutely big issue that the design studios should and must have to improve as quickly as possible and immediately to remedy this for their future releases. Now let us doing some comparisons and put Jesmon away. Of course, you've seen him the whole time, standing here. Yeah. And I also don't know which comparisons to do, but maybe I show you some of the back then action feature figures, those 2.5 inch action feature figures, some random figures how I said, I don't know what to show, but maybe those. Maybe. Just to see how they are looking together. Also, you can see Hackmon is a bit bigger than those old figures. Yeah, maybe those are a good compare, maybe not, I don't know. And yeah, maybe also some of those newer GM figures, child level Digimon, to see how they are looking together. Maybe, I don't know, maybe those, I don't know, maybe those. Just to see how they are looking together, and as you can see, they are also a bit smaller, and yeah. Biomon fell over, yeah. We would have that. Maybe those, I don't know. Just to see how they are looking together. Yeah, and maybe some other child level Digimon, like these Japanese two kinda UFO catcher doll key ring figures of Armadillomon and Renamon. Don't know, maybe those. They are very nice figures. Japanese ones always had better paint apps, also back then already, than those 2.5 action feature line figures. Yeah, maybe those also, as compared, to see how they are looking together. Yeah, would we have done also the compare? Due to the fact that Hackmon was not included with Jesmon's purchase back then, I couldn't create a Stop-Motion-Evo-Scene with the real Hackmon figure back then, and had to invent something more simpler for Hackmon's part of the evolution scene. I already mentioned that in the review of Jesmon, since I did not get Hackmon until autumn 2021. As mentioned, I had decided for this review here also not to create an extra stop motion scene with the real Hackmon figure. I hope you will excuse me that and this personal decision, quite simply for the reason that I would have just taken the real Hackmon figure for the Evo, for this part of the scene, and would have cut it together with the part of the Jesmon. And yeah, so visually only Hackmon, the real Hackmon figure, would have digivolved to Jesmon in that scene. But the review is not about Jesmon again, and only about Hackmon. For the Evo scene with the two real figures, for Jesmon's review, I just got the Hackmon figure way too late. Therefore this decision, and it is all due to the uncertainty mentioned, because that at that time I could not at all assess if I would ever get the Hackmon figure or not, and I had no longer believed in getting it. You know the pre-story, but at some point I wanted and had to do at least make the review about Jesmon for you, because the show must go on. And anyway, due to the pre-story with the Hackmon figure and the uncertainty in terms of time, I have already delayed the review about Jesmon a long time further and presented you other reviews instead back then. I already mentioned that in Jesmon's review as well. Yeah, and that brings us to the end of this review about Akira Studios Jesmon. I hope that you liked it a bit, that you didn't get bored with all the additional informations at the end now, but I wanted to summarize this again and not to keep that from you, because all of this is supposed to clarify and justify a few things as well. So as why this review about Hackmon came this late, especially. Yeah, it got quite long also. I just wanted to do that not so long, but it happened again. Sorry for that. Yeah, and so I thank you very much for your attention, for those of you who have stayed until this point now. If you enjoyed this review, I would be happy to give me a thumbs up for it. And of course, you are also very welcome to subscribe to my channel. Otherwise, I want to say goodbye to you. See you for the next video. Your Mega 88 1000.
Just break the chain 迷いの殻をぶち壊せ